The twin suns of New Terra Colony blazed overhead as Officer Jake Martinez adjusted his patrol cap and wiped sweat from his forehead. The heat shimmer made the distant mountains dance like ghosts. Beside him in the patrol vehicle, Officer Lisa Chung checked their scanner for the third time in 10 minutes. "Anything interesting today?" Jake asked, steering their hover cruiser along the perimeter road that marked the edge of the colony's safe zone. "Same as always," Lisa replied, her dark eyes focused on the display. "Cargo ships, supply runs, and the occasional lost tourist who thinks they can take a shortcut through the restricted zone." New Terra Colony sat on the edge of known space, where humanity had carved out a foothold among the stars. It was not the biggest human settlement, but it was important. Trade routes passed through here, connecting human worlds to the broader Galactic Federation. That made it a target for smugglers, pirates, and worse things that prowled the dark between stars. Jake had been patrolling these roads for 3 years. Lisa had joined the force 6 months ago, fresh from the Colonial Security Academy on Earth. They made a good team. Jake knew every rock and tree in their sector, while Lisa had the newest training and sharp eyes that missed nothing. The radio crackled to life. "All units be advised. Intelligence reports increased alien smuggling activity in sectors 7 through 12. Unknown vessels may be using false identification codes. Exercise extra caution during all stops." Lisa reached for the radio. "Unit 12 acknowledged control." "Great," Jake muttered. "Just what we needed. More paranoid travelers complaining about security checks." That was when Lisa's scanner lit up like a festival display. "Contact," she announced, her voice suddenly sharp and professional. "High speed, vehicle approaching from the north. Speed, wow, that thing is moving fast." Jake looked up to see a sleek silver vehicle racing toward them along the main approach road. It was unlike anything in their database of local transports. The design was smooth and elegant, with no visible weapons or cargo compartments. Most striking were the diplomatic plates that gleamed on its front bumper. "Those plates," Lisa said, zooming in with her scanner. "I have never seen markings like that before." The vehicle was not slowing down as it approached the checkpoint. If anything, it seemed to be accelerating. Jake felt his pulse quicken. After the morning's security, warning, any unusual behavior demanded investigation. "Light them up," Jake decided. Lisa activated their emergency beacons. Blue and red lights flashed as their patrol cruiser moved to block the road. The silver vehicle finally began to slow, coming to a smooth stop about 20 meters away. "Running." "The plates now," Lisa said, her fingers dancing over her terminal. "This is weird, Jake. The scanner can read the format, but it is not matching anything in our database." Jake nodded and stepped out of their cruiser. The heat hit him like a wall, but he kept his expression neutral and professional. Lisa followed, one hand resting casually near her sidearm. The door of the silver vehicle opened with a soft hiss, and a woman stepped out. She was tall and confident, with dark skin and intelligent eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. Her civilian clothes were well made but practical, the kind worn by someone who valued function over fashion. Something about her posture reminded Jake of his old drill instructor, but he could not put his finger on what exactly. "Good afternoon, officers," the woman said, her voice calm and respectful. "I apologize for the speed. I am running late for a very important meeting." "Ma'am, I need to see your identification and travel permits," Jake replied, staying professional. "You were exceeding the posted speed limit in a restricted zone." The woman nodded and reached into her jacket. Jake tensed slightly, but she moved slowly and deliberately, producing a credentials wallet that she handed over without argument. "Of course, officer. I understand you are just doing your job." Jake opened the wallet and blinked. The identification card inside was unlike anything he had seen before. The format was familiar enough, but the clearance codes and authorization numbers were completely foreign. The name read, Commander Maya Washington, with a rank insignia he did not recognize. "Commander?" Lisa asked, reading over his shoulder. "What branch of service?" "Colonial Defense Command," Maya replied simply. "I am here for a meeting with your sector leadership." Jake ran the identification through his portable scanner. After a moment, it beeped with an error message. Record not found in local database. Ma'am, I'm going to need you to step over here while we verify this information, Jake said, his training taking over. The morning's security warning echoed in his mind. Unknown vessels, false identification codes, increased smuggling activity. Maya's expression did not change, but Jake caught a flicker of something in her eyes. Impatience, maybe, or frustration. Officer, I understand your caution, but I'm expected at Colonial Headquarters in 15 minutes. Perhaps you could contact your dispatch and have them verify my credentials while I continue to my destination? I am sorry, ma'am, but protocol requires us to verify unknown identification. In person, Lisa said, stepping forward. Especially in the current security climate. Maya looked between the two officers for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Very well. But I should mention that my clearance level may not appear in your local systems. You might need to contact a higher authority. We will sort it out at headquarters, Jake decided. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to follow us there. Keep your vehicle behind ours and maintain a safe distance. As they walked back to their patrol cruiser, Lisa leaned close to Jake. What do you think? I think we are about to find out if our morning just got very interesting or very complicated, Jake replied quietly. Maya returned to her silver vehicle without protest. As she settled into the driver's seat, Jake noticed her scanning their patrol cruiser with the same careful attention she'd given them. It was the look of someone evaluating equipment and procedures, not the nervous glances of a criminal or the confused stare of a lost civilian. The short convoy made its way toward Colonial Headquarters, Jake and Lisa leading while Maya followed at the requested distance. Through his rear scanner, Jake could see her speaking into what looked like a communication device. You know what bothers me most about this? Lisa said as they drove. What? She is not acting nervous. Most people, when they get pulled over by Colonial security, they get at least a little worried. She is acting like someone who expects to be recognized but is not surprised that we do not know who she is. Jake nodded slowly, like someone used to dealing with security checkpoints. Exactly. Question is, why is not she in our database? As Colonial Headquarters came into view, Jake had the strange feeling that he was about to get an answer to that question, whether he wanted one or not. The building rose before them like a monument to human determination, its walls scarred by the elements of an alien world, but standing strong against whatever the galaxy might throw at them. Just like the people inside, Jake thought. Just like all of them trying to make a life among the stars. Colonial Headquarters buzzed with its usual afternoon activity as Jake Martinez guided their small convoy through the main gate. Security guards waved them through without question, recognizing the patrol cruiser's identification codes. Jake parked in the visitor area while Maya Washington pulled her silver vehicle into the space beside them. The building itself was a testament to human engineering on an alien world. Built from local stone and imported steel, it stood 3 stories, tall with reinforced walls designed to withstand both natural disasters and potential attacks. Solar collectors gleamed on the roof while communication arrays reached toward the sky like metallic fingers, grasping for distant stars. I still think this is going to be routine, Lisa Chang said as they walked toward the main entrance. Probably, just some bureaucrat with new credentials that haven't been updated in our system yet. Jake nodded, but something nagged at him. Maya walked beside them with the easy confidence of someone who belonged here, despite never having visited before. She moved like she knew exactly where she was going, even though they were supposed to be escorting her. The lobby of Colonial Headquarters was a hub of controlled chaos. Administrative staff hurried between offices carrying data tablets and sealed document cases. Military personnel in various uniforms moved with purpose through corridors that led to different departments. The walls displayed holographic maps showing shipping lanes, patrol routes, and the current positions of human colonies throughout this sector of space. Captain Bennett's office is on the 2nd floor, Jake explained to Maya as they approached the main desk. He'll need to verify your credentials before we can release you. The desk sergeant, a grizzled veteran named Pete Collins, looked up from his terminal. What can I do for you, Jake? Need to see the captain about a credential. Verification, Jake replied. Unknown identification that's not showing up in our database. Pete's expression grew serious. After the morning's security warning, everyone was taking unknown credentials very seriously. He's in his office, go on up. The elevator ride to the second floor was quiet, except for the soft hum of the building's life support systems. Maya stood calmly between the two officers, her hands clasped behind her back in a posture that Jake now realized was distinctly military. Captain Roy Bennett's office occupied a corner of the second floor, with windows that looked out over the colony's main settlement. The walls were covered with commendations, tactical maps, and photographs of Bennett with various military units over his 20-year career. He was a solid man in his 50s, with gray hair and the kind of steady presence that made people trust his judgment. "What have you got for me?" Bennett asked as they entered, not looking up from the report he was reading. "Sir, we pulled over a vehicle for speeding in the restricted zone," Jake began. "The driver presented credentials that aren't showing up in our local database. Name is Commander Maya Washington. Claims to be with Colonial Defense Command." At the mention of the name, Bennett's head snapped up. His eyes went wide as he saw Maya standing quietly behind the two officers. For a moment he just stared, as if he could not believe what he was seeing. Then Captain Roy Bennett, a man Jake had never seen show deference to anyone below flag rank, shot to his feet and snapped to attention. "Commander Washington!" Bennett's voice carried a mixture of surprise and respect that made Jake's stomach drop. "Ma'am, I had no idea you had arrived. Your transport wasn't scheduled until tomorrow." Maya smiled, and Jake caught his first glimpse of the authority she had been keeping carefully controlled. "My plans changed, Captain. I caught an earlier transport and decided to drive myself from the spaceport. I wanted to see the colony's approaches firsthand." Bennett's face had gone slightly pale. "Ma'am, if I had known you were coming today, I would have sent an escort. I apologize for any inconvenience these officers may have caused." "No inconvenience at all," Maya replied smoothly. "Officers Martinez and Chang were doing exactly what they should do. In fact, their thoroughness is exactly what I was hoping to find." Jake felt like the ground was shifting beneath his feet. Beside him, Lisa looked equally confused. Captain Bennett was treating this woman like she outranked him significantly, but her credentials had said commander, which should have been roughly equal to Bennett's rank. "Sir," Jake ventured carefully, "could you help us understand the situation?" Bennett looked at him with an expression that was part sympathy and part amazement. "Officers, allow me to properly introduce Commander Maya Washington, your new chief of colonial defense for the entire human colonial sector." The words hit Jake like a physical blow. Not just their new chief, but the chief of the entire sector. That meant she outranked not just Bennett, but every military officer within 50 light years. "Ma'am," Lisa said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper, "we are so sorry. We had no idea." Maya held up a hand. "Please, don't apologize. You did exactly what you were trained to do. In fact, I'm impressed. Many officers would have let diplomatic plates slide without verification, especially in a routine traffic stop." Bennett gestured toward the chairs in front of his desk. "Ma'am, please have a seat. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water?" "Coffee would be appreciated," Maya replied, settling into the offered chair with the same natural authority she had shown throughout their encounter. "It's been a long journey." As Bennett busied himself with the coffee dispenser, Jake's mind raced. Maya Washington. The name was starting to ring a bell, like a half-remembered news story or briefing he had heard, but not paid close attention to. "Sir," he asked Bennett, "could you fill us in on Commander Washington's background for our incident report?" Bennett paused in his coffee preparation, looking to Maya for permission. She nodded. "Commander Washington was one of the key strategic minds behind our victory in the Zephyrian border conflicts," Bennett explained. "Her tactical innovations are credited with turning what should have been a devastating defeat into humanity's first major military victory against a technologically superior alien force." Now Jake remembered. The border conflicts had been front page news across human space 18 months ago. A previously unknown alien species called the Zephyrians had attacked 3 human colonies without warning, using weapons and tactics that had overwhelmed traditional Federation defenses. The Zephyrians had better ships, better weapons, and better technology. Bennett continued, handing Maya her coffee. By all conventional military wisdom, they should have wiped out our colonies and continued advancing into human space. Instead, our forces not only stopped them but pushed them back beyond their original borders. How? Lisa asked, genuinely curious. Maya took a sip of her coffee before answering. We stopped fighting their kind of war and started fighting our kind of war. The Zephyrians, like most advanced species, rely heavily on predictable tactics and rigid command structures. We used that against them. The commander pioneered what we now call adaptive asymmetric warfare, Bennett added with obvious pride. Instead of meeting their technology with technology, she used human creativity and unpredictability to exploit weaknesses they didn't even know they had. Jake was beginning to understand the scope of what had happened during their traffic stop. They had not just pulled over a new commanding officer. They had pulled over one of the most important military leaders in human space, a woman whose strategic thinking had literally changed the course of human expansion into the galaxy. The Galactic Federation took notice, Maya continued. Suddenly, every species that had dismissed humanity as primitive newcomers was asking how we had defeated a foe that had been expanding unchecked for centuries. They started offering us positions in their military commands, asking for our tactical advice. And now they've asked you to take charge of our entire colonial defense network, Bennett said. Maya nodded. The Federation Council believes that human tactical thinking can be applied on a larger scale. They want to see if our success against the Zephyrians was a fluke, or if humanity has something unique to offer galactic security. The room fell quiet as the implications sank in. Jake realized they were witnessing a turning point not just for their colony, but for humanity's place in the galaxy. The species that had been barely tolerated as newcomers just a few years ago was now being asked to take leadership roles in galactic defense. So, Maya said, setting down her coffee cup and looking directly at Jake and Lisa, tell me about your patrol procedures. I want to understand how we're currently handling security in the outer sectors. The conference room on the 3rd floor of Colonial Headquarters had been designed to impress visitors from other worlds. A massive holographic display dominated one wall, currently showing a 3-dimensional map of human space with trade routes glowing like golden threads between the stars. Around the polished table sat the colony's senior staff, all trying to process what Maya Washington had just told them. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, said Director Helen Torres, the colony's chief administrator. The Galactic Federation is restructuring its entire military command structure, and they want humans in leadership positions across multiple sectors. Maya nodded, her hands folded calmly on the table. Not just leadership positions, key strategic positions. After our success against the Zephyrians, every major species in the Federation has been studying human military tactics. They're discovering that what they initially saw as chaotic and unpredictable is actually highly effective. Jake Martinez and Lisa Chang sat near the back of the room, still trying to absorb the fact that they were witnessing history in the making. Captain Bennett had invited them to stay for the briefing, saying that as the officers who had first encountered Commander Washington, they deserved to understand the bigger picture. The Thrakari High Command has requested human advisors for their border conflicts with the Nexus Collective, Maya continued, manipulating the holographic display to show distant star systems. The Valoran Trade Federation wants us to design new patrol strategies for their shipping lanes. Even the Crystalline Assembly, who barely acknowledge other organic species, has asked for consultation on defensive formations. Dr. Alan Knox, the colony's chief scientist, leaned forward with obvious fascination. What changed their minds? The Federation species have been established for thousands of years. Why are they suddenly interested in tactics from a species that's been spacefaring for less than 3 centuries? Maya smiled, and Jake could see the pride and excitement in her expression. Because we think differently. Most galactic civilizations, develop along similar patterns once they achieve spaceflight. They become rigid, hierarchical, predictable. Their military tactics haven't evolved significantly in millennia because they haven't needed to. She stood and moved to the holographic display, highlighting several star systems in red. The Zephyrians were a perfect example. They had superior technology, overwhelming numbers, and tactics that had worked against every opponent they'd faced for the past 500 years. Against any other Federation species, they would have won easily. But humans don't follow the established patterns, Captain Bennett added, understanding beginning to show in his voice. Exactly. We adapt in real time. We form emotional bonds with alien species that other civilizations consider impossible. We take tactics from completely different contexts and apply them to space warfare. Most importantly, we inspire others to fight beyond their normal capabilities. Lisa raised her hand tentatively. Ma'am, could you give us a specific example? Maya turned to her with approval. Excellent question, Officer Chang. During the Battle of Kepler Station, the Zephyrians had surrounded our forces with a classic encirclement maneuver. Any Federation military manual would have called for a fighting withdrawal to preserve ships and personnel. The holographic display shifted to show a tactical recreation of the battle. Jake watched in fascination as dozens of ship icons moved through space in complex patterns. Instead, I ordered our forces to do something the Zephyrians had never encountered. We deliberately split our fleet into smaller groups and attacked from 12 different directions simultaneously. Not only did this confuse their targeting systems, but it forced them to divide their attention. That sounds incredibly risky, Director Torres observed. It was. We lost 30% of our ships in the first wave. But here's what the Zephyrians didn't understand about humans. Maya paused, making eye contact with everyone in the room. When we're protecting something we care about, we don't fight like machines following programming. We fight like we're defending our families. Dr. Knox was taking notes rapidly. And the psychological impact on your alien allies? That's where human nature became our greatest weapon. The other Federation ships in our fleet saw humans willing to sacrifice themselves for colonies that weren't even originally human settlements. Our pilots were calling out encouragement to Thrakari wingmen, covering retreats for Valoran cargo vessels, coordinating with crystalline defensive formations. Jake felt a chill run down his spine as he began to understand the scope of what Maya was describing. Within hours, every alien crew in our fleet was fighting harder than they ever had before. Not because of orders or military discipline, but because they had watched humans treat them like family worth dying for. The Zephyrians found themselves facing not just human tactical innovation, but inspired alien crews fighting with human determination. The Federation had never seen anything like it, Captain Bennett said quietly. Maya nodded. After Kepler Station, the Zephyrians couldn't win a single engagement, not because we had better technology, but because we had changed the fundamental nature of how the war was being fought. They were fighting a confederation of inspired allies, not a collection of individual species following separate agendas. Director Torres was staring at the tactical display with new understanding. And now the Federation wants to apply this approach on a larger scale. They want to see if human leadership can create the same effect across multiple sectors. The Council has approved the placement of human commanders in 23 critical defense positions throughout Federation space. I'm here because this sector has been chosen as the primary testing ground for integrated human-alien command structures. Doctor, Knox looked up from his notes. What does that mean for us practically? Maya walked back to her chair but remained standing. It means that within the next 6 months, New Terra Colony will become the headquarters for the largest interspecies military cooperation project in galactic history. We'll have Thrakari battlecruisers, Valoran fast attack ships, crystalline defense platforms, and at least 6 other species working together under human strategic command. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. Jake realized that their quiet little colony on the edge of human space was about to become one of the most important military installations in the galaxy. The Federation is betting humanity's unique approach to warfare and leadership can be taught to other species, Maya continued. If we succeed, it could revolutionize galactic defense and establish humanity as a permanent leading voice in Federation affairs. And if we fail? Lisa asked quietly. Maya's expression grew serious. If we fail, the Federation will likely conclude that our success against the Zephyrians was a fortunate accident. Humanity will remain a minor species, grateful for whatever scraps of territory the established civilizations allow us to keep. Captain Bennett stood up. Ma'am, what do you need from us? I need this colony to become a shining example of what humans can accomplish when we're given responsibility and resources. I need your security forces to train with alien personnel and learn to think beyond human tactical doctrine. Most importantly, I need every person in this colony to understand that the galaxy is watching us. Maya finally sat down, her gaze moving around the table. The Galactic Federation has thousands of member species, but only a handful have ever been asked to take leadership roles in military affairs. We're being given an opportunity that most civilizations wait millennia to receive. Jake found himself thinking about the traffic stop that morning, how routine it had seemed at the time. Now he realized it had been his first encounter with the future of human civilization. Officers Martinez and Chang, Maya said, addressing them directly. I'd like you both to volunteer for the new Interspecies Patrol Initiative. You'll be working alongside alien officers, learning their methods while teaching them ours. Are you interested? Jake looked at Lisa, seeing his own excitement reflected in her eyes. Yes, ma'am, absolutely. Good. Training begins next week. You'll be representing not just this colony, but humanity itself. I have a feeling you're both up to the challenge. The alarm that woke Jake Martinez from his sleep was unlike any he had heard before. 3 short blasts followed by a long wail, repeating endlessly through the corridors of New Terra Colony. He rolled out of bed and grabbed his uniform, his training taking over even as his mind struggled to catch up. Emergency stations. All personnel to emergency stations. 6 weeks had passed since Maya Washington's arrival, and the colony had transformed dramatically. The orbital platforms now hosted ships from 5 different alien species, each contributing their unique capabilities to what Maya called the Integrated Defense Network. Jake had spent those weeks training alongside alien officers, learning to coordinate human tactics with Thrakari battle doctrine and Valoran strike formations. He had never expected to use that training so soon. Jake reached the command center to find organized chaos. Officers from multiple species worked side by side at control stations, their different physiologies requiring specially adapted equipment. The main display showed a tactical overview that made his blood run cold. 16 red contacts were moving steadily toward their sector, arranged in the diamond formation that intelligence had identified as the signature of hegemony battle groups. The same alien faction that humanity had defeated in the border conflicts was back, and they were bringing everything they had. Report, Maya commanded as Jake joined the cluster of officers around the central planning table. She wore full combat uniform now, her commander's insignia gleaming under the harsh emergency lighting. Long-range sensors picked them up 40 minutes ago, Captain Bennett replied, his voice tight with controlled tension. 16 heavy cruisers, escort frigates, and what looks like a command dreadnought. They're not responding to communication attempts. Lisa Chang stood beside a tall Thrakari officer whose blue-scaled skin reflected the display lights. Ma'am, Lieutenant Kexthera estimates they'll reach our outer defense perimeter in 18 hours. Maya studied the tactical display with the calm focus Jake had come to recognize as her signature under pressure. Fleet disposition? We have 12 human vessels, 8 Thrakari battle cruisers, 6 Valoran attack ships, and 4 crystalline defense platforms, reported Commander Susan Blake, Maya's newly appointed fleet coordinator. Total of 30 ships against their 16, but their individual vessels are larger and more heavily armed. Classic Federation thinking, Maya said quietly. Count ships, compare firepower, calculate odds. She turned to face the assembled officers. Anyone want to tell me why the hegemony is attacking now? Dr. Knox, who had been monitoring intelligence reports, cleared his throat. Our analysts believe they see the Interspecies Cooperation Project as a direct threat. If humans can successfully integrate alien tactical doctrines, it validates our victory in the border conflicts and establishes us as a permanent galactic power. Maya nodded. They're hoping to crush us before we can prove that human leadership works on a larger scale. One decisive victory here, and they can claim our previous success was just luck. Jake watched the alien officers around the room. The Thrakari contingent maintained their species' typical stoic composure, but he could see tension in the set of their shoulders. The Velorans were actually chittering softly among themselves. A sound he had learned indicated either excitement or anxiety. Only the single crystalline representative seemed completely unmoved, its geometric form rotating slowly as it processed information. "Ma'am," Captain Bennett said, "Federation Command is recommending a standard defensive formation. Consolidate our forces around the colony and make them come to us." "Of course they are." Maya's smile held no humor. "Textbook tactics, predictable, conservative, and exactly what the hegemony is expecting." She moved to the tactical display and began manipulating the holographic projections. "But we're not going to give them a textbook battle." The display shifted to show their sector of space in 3 dimensions. Maya highlighted their current fleet positions, then began drawing new formations with quick, confident gestures. "We're going to split our forces into 4 groups," she announced. "Each group will have a mix of human, Thrakari, and Veloran ships. The crystalline platforms will remain here to defend the colony itself." Commander Blake frowned. "Ma'am, dividing our forces against a concentrated enemy goes against every principle of space warfare. Human space warfare," corrected Lieutenant Kex Thara, the Thrakari officer. His universal translator gave his words a metallic undertone. "But Commander Washington's tactics defeated my people's enemies when traditional methods failed. I am willing to trust her judgment." Maya looked around the room, making eye contact with officers from each species. "The hegemony is expecting us to defend passively, to let them choose the time and place of engagement. Instead, we're going to hit them simultaneously from 4 different directions before they reach our defensive perimeter." Jake felt his heart rate increase. It was an incredibly aggressive plan, one that would put every ship at risk. But he remembered Maya's words about human nature, about fighting differently when they were protecting something they cared about. "Group Alpha will jump to coordinates here," Maya continued, highlighting a point in space well beyond their current position. "Group Beta here, Gamma here, and Delta here. Each group will have specific targeting priorities based on their ship compositions." Lisa raised her hand. "Ma'am, what about coordination? With our forces scattered across multiple light minutes, communication delays will make real-time tactical adjustments impossible." "That's exactly the point, Officer Chang. Each group commander will have to adapt in real time based on local conditions. No central control, no rigid battle plan to follow. Pure human tactical philosophy applied on a fleet scale." Dr. Knox was running calculations on his portable terminal. "The logistics are incredibly complex. We'll need perfect timing on the initial jumps, and there's no margin for error." Maya turned to Jake. "Officer Martinez, you and Chang will be coordinating ground-based operations during the battle. If any hegemony forces break through to the colony itself, you'll be responsible for civilian evacuation and final defensive preparations." "Understood, ma'am." Jake felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. 6 weeks ago, he had been writing traffic citations. Now he was being trusted with the safety of 30,000 colonists. "All group commanders, begin preparation immediately," Maya ordered. "I want ships moving to jump positions within 4 hours. Remember, we're not just fighting for this colony. We're fighting to prove that human tactical thinking can revolutionize galactic warfare." As the officers dispersed to their assignments, Jake found himself standing beside the Thrakari lieutenant. "Sir, can I ask you something?" Kex Thara's large eyes focused on him. "Speak freely, Officer Martinez." "Do you really believe this plan can work? Splitting our forces seems so risky." The alien officer was quiet for a moment, his scaled hands clasped behind his back in a posture remarkably similar to human military bearing. "My people have fought according to established tactical doctrine for over 2,000 years. We are methodical, disciplined, predictable. It has served us well against enemies who think as we do." He paused, watching Maya as she coordinated with the fleet commanders. But the hegemony defeated us easily when we followed traditional methods. It was only when we began fighting alongside humans, learning to adapt and improvise, that we achieved victory. Your species sees possibilities where others see only problems. Jake nodded slowly. So you trust Commander Washington's judgment? I trust human judgment, Kexthera replied. Your people have shown us that warfare is not just about superior technology or overwhelming force. It is about inspiring others to fight beyond their normal capabilities. That is a lesson worth any risk. As Jake made his way to the Evacuation Coordination Center, he thought about the strange journey that had brought him to this moment. A routine traffic stop had introduced him to a woman who was about to bet humanity's future on a single, desperate battle. Outside the command center windows, he could see alien ships moving into formation alongside human vessels. Crews who had been strangers 6 weeks ago were now preparing to fight together as a unified force. The hegemony was coming, expecting to face a predictable Federation defense. Instead, they would encounter something unprecedented in galactic warfare. A truly integrated multi-species fleet, commanded by human tactical innovation and held together by human determination to protect what they cared about. In 18 hours, they would discover whether Maya Washington was a strategic genius or a reckless commander about to get them all killed. The silence in the command center was almost as loud as the alarms had been 18 hours earlier. Jake Martinez stood beside the main tactical display, watching the last of the hegemony ships disappear into hyperspace. Their proud formation was now a scattered collection of damaged vessels fleeing toward the outer rim of known space. Maya Washington stood at the center of it all, her combat uniform wrinkled and stained with coffee from the long night of coordination. But her eyes held the quiet satisfaction of a commander who had gambled everything and won. "Final casualty report," she requested, her voice hoarse from hours of issuing orders. Commander Blake consulted her display. "We lost 3 ships total. The Thrakari cruiser Determination, the human destroyer Phoenix, and Velaran attack ship Swift Current. 17 other vessels sustained damage, but all are capable of return to base." Jake felt the weight of those losses. He had worked alongside crew members from all 3 ships during the training exercises, but compared to what they had expected, the casualties were remarkably light. "The hegemony?" Maya asked. 12 ships destroyed or disabled, Lieutenant Kexthera reported from his station. 4 others took heavy damage before retreating. Their command dreadnought was forced to abandon the field after our coordinated assault on its primary systems. Shine nodded slowly. The plan had worked even better than she had hoped. By attacking from 4 directions simultaneously, they had prevented the hegemony from concentrating their superior firepower. Each group had targeted different systems, creating chaos in the enemy formation and forcing them to fight 4 separate battles instead of 1 organized engagement. "Ma'am," Dr. Knox announced from the communication station, "I'm receiving a priority transmission from Federation headquarters on Centera Prime. Put it through." The main display shifted to show the Federation Council chamber, where representatives from dozens of alien species had gathered in emergency session. At the center sat Admiral Vex Corin, the crystalline fleet commander whose geometric form sparkled under the chamber's lights. "Commander Washington," the Admiral's translated voice resonated through the command center. "The Council has been monitoring your engagement with the hegemony forces. We are impressed with the results." Maya straightened, though Jake could see the exhaustion in her posture. "Thank you, Admiral. The integrated fleet performed exactly as we hoped." "More than hoped, Commander. Your tactical innovation has achieved something we believed impossible. A numerically inferior force has not only defeated a hegemony battle group, but done so with minimal losses, while protecting civilian populations across 3 star systems." The display shifted to show a broader tactical overview. Jake realized that the battle he had witnessed was only part of a larger engagement. While Maya's forces had been fighting near New Terra Colony, similar battles had been taking place throughout the sector. The hegemony launched coordinated attacks on 12 human colonies simultaneously, Admiral Vex Corin continued. Your tactical doctrine was implemented by human commanders across the entire sector. The results have been uniformly successful. Lisa Chang, who had spent the battle coordinating civilian evacuations that thankfully had never been needed, stepped closer to the display. Sir, are you saying that all 12 colonies successfully repelled hegemony attacks? More than repelled, Officer Chang. The hegemony has suffered their most decisive defeat in over 500 years. Their military expansion has been permanently halted, and their leadership is requesting peace negotiations through Federation diplomatic channels. The command center erupted in quiet celebration. Officers from multiple species embraced, their differences forgotten in the shared triumph. Jake found himself shaking hands with a Valoran pilot whose ship had participated in the battle, their four-armed handshake somehow perfectly natural. But Maya remained focused on the display. Admiral, what are the Council's recommendations going forward? The crystalline Admiral's form rotated slightly. A gesture Jake had learned indicated deep consideration. The Council has voted unanimously to offer humanity full Federation membership, effective immediately. Additionally, you are hereby promoted to the rank of Admiral and appointed as the Federation's new Director of Strategic Operations. Jake felt his knees go weak. Director of Strategic Operations was one of the highest military positions in the entire galaxy, traditionally reserved for species that had been Federation members for centuries. The Council believes that human tactical thinking represents a fundamental evolution in galactic warfare. Admiral Vex Corin continued. We wish to implement your integrated command structure throughout Federation space. You will have authority to reorganize military commands across all member worlds. Maya was quiet for a long moment, and Jake could almost see her processing the enormous implications of what she was being offered. Humanity had gone from barely tolerated newcomers to galactic military leaders in less than 2 years. I accept the appointment, Maya said finally. But I have conditions. The Admiral's form brightened, indicating amusement. Please state your terms, Admiral Washington. I want Officers Martinez and Chang assigned to my command staff as liaisons between human colonial forces and Federation military. They understand both human tactics and interspecies cooperation. I'll need people like them to make this transition work. Jake stared at Maya in shock. 6 weeks ago, he had been writing traffic citations. Now he was being offered a position on the Galactic Military Command Staff. Granted, Admiral Vex Corin replied immediately. The Council recognizes that human success stems partly from your species' ability to identify and develop talent regardless of traditional hierarchies. Furthermore, Maya continued, New Terra Colony will remain as the primary training facility for integrated tactical doctrine. What we've built here needs to be preserved and expanded. Also granted, we are transmitting construction authorizations for expanded facilities and permanent alien military installations. New Terra Colony is now designated as Federation Strategic Training Command. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Jake looked around at the faces of his colleagues, seeing the same mixture of excitement and overwhelming responsibility that he felt. Captain Bennett was the first to speak. Admiral Washington, what are your orders? Maya turned to face the assembled officers, and Jake saw the woman who had calmly handled a traffic stop transform completely into the galactic military leader she had become. We have work to do. The Federation is giving humanity a chance to reshape galactic defense, but we need to prove we can handle the responsibility. Captain Bennett, I want detailed reports on our tactical innovations from this battle. Lieutenant Kexthera, work with our alien allies to document lessons learned from integrated operations. She turned to Jake and Lisa. Officers Martinez and Chang, pack your bags. We're heading to Federation headquarters on Centaura Prime. You're about to get a crash course in galactic politics. Lisa stepped forward. Ma'am, are we really ready for this? 6 weeks ago, we were patrol officers. Maya smiled, and Jake caught a glimpse of the humor that had carried her through their first encounter. 6 weeks ago, I was just another military commander. Today, I'm reshaping how the galaxy thinks about warfare. Ready or not, we're representing humanity on the largest stage possible. 3 days later, Jake stood on the observation deck of the Federation flagship Harmony, watching the blue-green jewel of Centaura Prime grow larger in the viewport. Beside him, Lisa wore the same expression of amazed disbelief that he suspected was on his own face. Maya joined them at the viewport, now wearing the silver insignia of a Federation admiral. "Second thoughts?" she asked. "Every few minutes," Jake admitted. "But I keep thinking about something Lieutenant Kexthara said, about humans seeing possibilities where others see only problems. That's exactly what the galaxy needs right now." Maya replied. "The Federation has been running on the same systems for thousands of years. They've forgotten how to adapt, how to innovate. Humanity's gift isn't just tactical thinking, it's the ability to bring out the best in others." Lisa pointed to the viewport, where ships from dozens of different species moved in perfectly coordinated formations around the Federation capital. "Look at that. 6 months ago, most of those species barely cooperated. Now they're flying together like they've been doing it for centuries." Maya nodded. "And that's just the beginning. We're going to show the galaxy what's possible when different species stop just coexisting and start actually working together." The shuttle bay doors opened to reveal an honor guard composed of representatives from every major Federation species. As they walked down the ramp, Jake realized that the traffic stop that had started this journey was now the stuff of galactic legend. Maya paused at the bottom of the ramp and looked back at Jake and Lisa. "Ready to change the galaxy?" Jake straightened his new Federation uniform and stepped forward into the future of human civilization. "After you, Admiral,"